William out today?
No, he just showed up in the parking lot.
He passed away.
Oh, very good. I'm still in the. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Pretty nice, animal motors around there.
The mics are still
Yeah,
muted.
it's way better than that thing that they got forever, yeah.
Everybody get settled?
All set. And let me know once video is on.
It is, and it's just you on the slide right now, so you can start.
All right.
Liam was outside. I don't know.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the February 17th Board of Supervisors meeting. We will go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. CAO Coons, would you mind leading us?
William to join us.
There we go.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, hopefully everyone is seeing the video and hearing the audio all right. If you need technical assistance, you can use the chat function and ask for help. But the chat function should not be used for commenting otherwise. We will go into public comment now. This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda or within the consent calendar. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. With that, I would ask Emma, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
Yes, we do. We have Matt raising his hand.
Okay. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Cool, thank you.
You got a delay though. Make sure your something's on mute or turn off your speaker or something.
I just did it.
My phone is having some technical difficulties. I'm sorry.
It sounds better now.
Can you guys, you can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll start the clock here when you start talking.
Okay, okay, my name is Matthew Jefferson. I'm the owner of Trinity off Canacraft and Spare Time Farm and Nursery. Today I would like to address the future of our cannabis program and Mr. Coons' transition plan. I've heard all the rumors that nobody in the North Lake area wants permitted farms in District 1. As a resident there, I wondered if it was true and I just didn't see it. When I was collecting signatures for the cannabis tax, I was a little bit nervous I was going to get a damn response. But in the short span of 3 days, I was shocked to see how many people out here really do support us and legal cannabis. People were thanking us for getting a permit and asking why others aren't doing the same. Totally unaware of the opt-out zone and upset to learn about it. Prohibition enforces negative stereotypes and prevents progress. These stereotypes are a hurdle we as a community have to overcome. As farmers in the North Lake area, we have seen a lot of positive support from our community. People are always letting us know how glad they are to have our local vegetables and plant starts in the community. Our local sales have more than doubled every year. We've had great support from all of our neighbors in the East Fork Valley and the North Lake area, and made great friends in the process. This proves to me that we do have community support, and this group of radical anti-cannabis advocates is a very small minority. We're excited to be hiring local workers and excited to help the local schools with their garden fundraiser donations and other groups. We love going to local events. We love our community. And to be honest, we couldn't survive off produce alone in the North Lake area without diversifying our farming. Today I want to say I'm proud to be a cannabis farmer. Keyword farmer, not a criminal, as Prop 64 clearly states, or a bad person as some stereotypes like to say. Our community as a whole does not support this discriminatory rhetoric. In section 211, table 2.2, the Trinity County draft EIR, it states there are at least 1,900 cannabis farms in Trinity. Assuming 2 people work on each farm, this means at least 1/3 of our population, about 3,800 people, directly or indirectly, earn income from cannabis, and this is a very low estimate. It's time to stop denying the truth. We are a cannabis county. We need to move past this reefer madness thinking. No more white and black, illegal and illegal. We are regulated and unregulated farmers. I ask if you go forward with the cannabis program, the board should wholeheartedly encourage and create a way for all of its farmers to come into regulation, instead of forcing some to remain unregulated. To see compliant farms in District 1 continue to do business and maintain their grandfather's status moving forward. This requires our county to encourage tourism and to build a strong industry in this county, and not to deny Trinity a beautiful place. Industry. We're all citizens of this county. We're farmers. We're families. We deserve a right to participate in this program. We love Trinity County. This is our home. I thank you for all your time and all your hard work.
Thank you for your comments, Matt.
Thank you.
Emma, do you have other Zoom public comment?
I'm not seeing anyone else on Zoom with a comment.
All right. Lisa, are you here for public comment?
I'm,
Hello? Say yes.
yes,
Oh,
I'm Rhoda.
hey, Rhoda.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Hold up, let me pull up the clock
Yeah.
here.
Did I jump the line?
You're okay.
Okay.
All right, when you're ready, begin, please.
Hi, my name is Rhoda Kane. My partner and I live in East Fork and are the owners of Trinity Alps Campcraft and Spare Time Farm and Nursery. I want to say I appreciate all the hard work and long hours spent creating a cannabis program in Trinity County. I know it's been no easy feat. There's so much misinformation and fear-based propaganda about legal cannabis driving a wedge in our community. It has even been suggested that we be asked to move in order to make room for people to move who want to be away from it, thereby creating a prohibition zone in the north part of the county. Historical evidence shows that not only does prohibition not work, but creates an environment that fuels, black markets, crime, and destructive environmental practices. It's time to end the reefer madness era of fear-based propaganda and begin to discuss the very real opportunities that cannabis regulation and compliant farming can bring to our counties. It's time to admit that cannabis has been part of the economy in Trinity County for a very long time. Trinity County has earned its well part of it. Trinity County farmers have worked very hard and invested everything we have to bring into compliance, display our permits, and pay taxes. We should not have to live in fear. It's time to end the false rhetoric that cannabis cultivators do not support their communities and that cultivators in the North Lake area are not supported by our community. In these uncertain times, it's more important than ever to bolster our economy and create an atmosphere of honesty and inclusion in our communities. It's time to discuss all avenues to economic stability instead of eliminating economic drivers. A simple Google search returns a plethora of articles showcasing the positive impacts the cannabis industry has had on tourism and the economy in small towns all across America, where agriculture is the dominant economic driver. This is a time to unify, not divide. There are few remaining opportunities for the young generations to work toward something that looks like the The generations of legacy growers, as well as the younger generation in Trinity County, deserve this opportunity. Those of us that have worked so hard and invested so much to come into the regulated market deserve your support. Today, I'm asking the Board of Supervisors to please stand against discrimination and support economic prosperity in Trinity County. As the supervisors continue to work on the cannabis program in Trinity County, I'd like to see compliant farms in District 1 continue to do business and maintain their grandfathered status moving forward. I ask that you support our rural American ideals and support the American dream in a world of ever-decreasing opportunity for so many young people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Rhoda. Lisa, would you like to give a public comment?
I have some handouts, Emma. They're like, I hope there's 9 copies. I can't remember how many I'm supposed to have.
That's okay, thank you.
Richard.
Okay. Good morning. Is this working?
Hold on, 1 second.
Push, maybe?
1 second, sorry.
Okay. Testing. Ooh, okay.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair Brown, Supervisors. Lisa Wright from Lewiston. I just would like to echo what the previous public commenter said. Very important to hear from the farmers. I'm going to take you back to I'm going to take you to kind of some of the technical part of what goes on behind all of this. So, a little history. As a 4th grader, I had this voracious appetite for biographies of the U.S. presidents. I put up a little sign on the board in the hallway when we all said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And it said, "First, a woman president." So fast forward almost 50 years now, through student of government, past administrator of government, to now a local business owner advising businesses on regulatory compliance with government. I hold dear, really, the rule of law that our country is bound by. As our elected officials, the people look to you to ensure that the rules, the adopted codes, and the laws are being upheld and also followed by our government. I am asking you in this role to please remain aware of some important Trinity County and government codes, which I've passed out some copies of and highlighted some pieces. Certainly seek your county council. But these are in code, and these are what we have to look to in advising our clients. So Trinity County Code 17.30E.20. Within 30 days of submitting and paying for an application, the planning director shall determine complete or notify incomplete any additional information. If no notification is done within those 30 days, the application is deemed complete and no further review can continue. And then it goes on, if notified incomplete, there's a timeline that starts. The applicant has 30 days to provide the information unless mutually agreed to a different time frame. Once complete, the planning director shall not exceed the period beyond the 30-day period unless the applicant agrees to waive the 1-year time limit imposed in Government Code 65950. What does that say? Well, it allows that one-time mutual extension pursuant to Section 65957. You say, okay, this is a lot of legal stuff, and I'm not a lawyer, certainly, but we can all read this. And I usually come before the lawyers, so I think it's important to share. So it goes on to state that the mutually written agreement to extend cannot exceed 90 days, and failure to act within these time limits may result in the project being deemed approved. We're not following any of these timelines in Trinity County. It's really deterring development, delaying development, and not just on the cannabis side, but in general. I have talked to contractors who can't get things through. I talked to engineers who won't work in Trinity anymore because they can't get things through. Looking at subdivisions sitting for 3 years, lot line adjustments for over a year. These timelines are not being followed, and I believe that it's very important that they are. So we can understand and empathize with lack of resources, but we cannot understand not following the law. I look to you to please ensure that our government follows the law. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments, Lisa. Is there any more public comments on the Zoom line or on the call-in number?
If there's anyone wanting to speak at this time for public comment, please make sure you have raised your hand on Zoom. And if you don't know how to do that, please message me via the chat function. We'll give you just a minute to do that. If we don't see that, we're going to move forward. I'm not seeing any movement.
All right, thank you, Emma. With that, we will move on from public comment. Before we go into presentations, I need to report out on the last board meeting's closed session, items 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. Item 6.1, Government Code Section 549, 54.5, conference with legal counsel. Direction was given to staff. Item 6.2, Government Code Section 549, 54.5B, direction given to negotiators. And item 6.3, Government Code Section 549, 54.5, conference with legal counsel, direction given to staff. Presentations is next. Clerk of the Board, item 1.1, receive an update regarding the coronavirus, COVID-19, and Trinity County. No fiscal impact. Who is honoring us with this presentation?
Good morning, Chair Brown. Thank you so much. Marcy Jo Cutzel, Public Health Branch Director in Trinity County. Just to give you an update on disease activity, and we'll go through testing numbers and plans, and also vaccine numbers and plans. Regarding case activity, we have a total of 336 confirmed cases. 310 of those have resolved. That's over the course of this outbreak. We have seen a recent uptick in illness activity with 21 cases recently added, and quarantines are at 23. There are no persons hospitalized at this time. The data is available, the disease activity data is available on the dashboard, and it's updated daily. As you can see, our test positivity rate and case rate have gone up recently, 5.5 and 5.3 respectively. If we continue on this path, we will ultimately go back into the red tier. That will happen over the next couple of weeks if it's going to happen. So we'll keep you posted on that. Testing in Trinity County, the testing numbers as of January 1st are 297. We are currently in transition planning with the state as the existing testing contract with Verily is set to expire at the end of this month. We are awaiting approval from the state of a stationary indoor testing site that will be ran by the state. We are also ensuring distribution of the self-administered Let's Get Checked to all those in other communities. Regarding vaccination, there have been 1,223 doses of vaccine given in Trinity County. The majority of these are first doses. This has been a monumental undertaking. There have been several partners that have assisted us, and we are grateful to that. We're also grateful with our clinic partners who have assisted in making sure access to vaccine for persons that cannot get vaccinated at our pods. We do know, however, that the vaccine shortage continues, and as such, we have to plan how to proceed. So with that said, after the upcoming pods on February 19th and 20th, those will be, for a while, the last first dose pods for the next several weeks. And we will be moving to second dose pods. We want to ensure that all those that got first dose get their second dose. And so over the next several weeks, we will do that. The second dose pods will be on March 5th, 6th, March 12th, and March 19th. There will be no first dose pods in between those dates. The criteria for getting your second dose is a minimum of 28 days should have passed before you get your second dose. However, there's a 4-day grace period, because if you don't exactly land on the day that your 28 days is up, you can actually get it up to 4 days before that 28-day mark. And I say that because one of the pods we're having on March 19th is going to be a second dose pod for all those who get their first doses on the 19th and 20th. So it'll be a day early for some of you, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. We will be utilizing a new state system that we're required to use for registering for vaccine. That system is called My Turn. It's a statewide system and it's web-based, so you will go into this system and you will register. It tells you, you can put in your zip code and then it will register you at the closest pod. We will be putting out information on that and how to do that, and we're planning on implementing that at our March 5th pod, and we will be required to use it moving forward. That's really all I have right now, unless anyone has questions for me.
Supervisors, any questions? Marcy, I've got, I think, two. Of the 21 new cases you stated, how severe are the actual symptoms and health issues, if you're able to share that?
So there are many that are asymptomatic, and I believe there are some that are symptomatic. I don't have all the details of that at this time.
Okay. And in reference to the Let's Get Checked home testing kits, do you know anything about the number, the quantity of those that will become available, and the process of deciding who gets prioritized to receive those?
Yes, thank you, Chair Brown. We have, we've been in contract with the entity that provides those tests for over 5 or 6 months now. And our contract allows for us to obtain hundreds of those Let's Get Checked. And we're committed to adding more as we need them. So I don't see an issue with supply regarding those. As far as distribution of those, we distribute those to agencies, schools, business entities, whoever needs them. If they have outbreaks, that's one of the ways we use that. The other way is to, very much like our drive-through testing sites are now, we'll have drive-through sites or stationary sites where people can pick up those kits, members of the public. And we haven't really secured what those sites are going to be beyond, the sites we have now, such as Lewiston and
Okay. And for a member of the general public who is not in a vulnerable category, how would be the best way for them to try to sign up to be vaccinated?
So one of the things about My Turn is that there are parameters set based on the phases that California is in. So if you're not eligible for a phase, you won't be able to register. However, counties do have latitude to be able to establish what our parameters are, because as you can tell, we might saturate one phase and we need to move the next phase. So that's number one. Number two, right now, what's really driving vaccination logistics is supply. One of the things we're leaning into is that we anticipate another vaccine becoming available. We're hoping by the first week in March, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's a one-dose vaccine. And part of our planning will be, and we'll be putting out press releases and communicating this with our media partners. One of the things we will be doing is more than likely funneling the Moderna vaccines, the limited doses we get on those, to our clinic partners, and the health department will utilize the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that's a one dose. And so persons wouldn't necessarily have a choice as to which vaccine they wanted if they got it from the health department, because it would be whatever we had available, and more than likely be the Johnson & Johnson, unless more Moderna vaccines open up. So I hope that helps to answer the question.
Yeah, very much. Thank you. Any other supervisors have questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Pete.
So In the original worksheets that you put out there, we had 2,000 essential people in the first round, not counting the 75-year-olds. These were the hospitals and, you know, the whole gang of people that deal with the public. Of those 2,000, do we have any idea of how many have got vaccinated?
I do not have that broke out by sector.
Okay. And then secondly, in my CSAC meetings, which we'll talk about a little later, COVID is the top topic there. So if there's anything that you want me to relay onto CSAC, please let me know. Marcy.
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Gross. I do want to add, I want to back up a little bit because I do want to let you know that we have saturated phase 1A. So phase 1A was phase 1A was hospital workers, people that come into direct patient care that are highest risk, and also that included skilled nursing facility personnel. And for us, it included our first responders, medics. So phase 1A has been completed. All those that wanted to get into phase 1A have gotten it, and those that have been vaccinated have also received their second dose. So all of those in phase 1A have received their second dose and they're done. We moved into phase 1B a few weeks ago, where we've expanded, as the state has dictated, beginning to put emphasis on vaccinating those 65 years of age and older. And due to the due to the disease burden in our county and those at greatest risk, it is feasible for public health departments, we're not the only one, that prioritizes those 65 years of age and older that are at highest risk, even in those sectors that are in phase 1B that are allowed to get it. Now, we have done that. These two pods coming up, however, though, we have expanded those to include all of those in phase B that have been laid out by the state, which includes state food and agriculture, school, and child care sectors. And we will vaccinate as long as the supply lasts. And so those spaces on the 19th and 20th, we particularly encourage teachers to sign up for those. We did start to vaccinate some teachers and staff at the last pod as we had extra doses, and we've moved into adding them to phase 1B.
Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Gross, I'm sorry, one more thing. We will be creating a dashboard with all the vaccine data on our website, very much like we have the disease activity dashboard. So that will be coming soon.
Thank you, Marcy.
All right, Marcy, I believe that's it. Thank you for your tireless efforts, and hopefully you see the light at the end of the tunnel. I assume there's no other presenters additionally for the COVID presentation, and assuming that's correct, we will move on to the consent calendar. These items include routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon the board by one roll call motion. If a member of the public has any questions or comments on an item on the consent calendar, they may provide them now. A member of the board or staff may request an item be pulled and considered separately. Are there any supervisors with items? What's that?
I do.
Go ahead, which one is it?
2.1 and 2.9.
2.1 and 2.9.
She stole my 2.9?
Never mind you.
All right.
Actually, I was going to pull it because there needs to be a correction in there.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
We
so
all got the correction.
items 2.1 and 2.9 will be looked at separately. Are there any members from the public that would like to have an item pulled? Emma, anybody out there raising their hand?
I have no hands raised, and
2.13, sorry.
2.13. 2.13.
and no one has messaged me on Zoom yet or used the chat function to get a hold of me, so I'm going to assume that no one from the public has comments.
All right, wonderful. Then, besides 2.1, 2.9, and 2.13, I would entertain a motion for the balance of items.
to accept the items on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Emma, we have a motion and a second. Please poll the board.
Motion by Supervisor Cox, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, then we will go to item 2.1. A auditor controller adopt a resolution which establishes Trinity County's appropriation limit for fiscal year 2021. No fiscal impact. Supervisor Cox.
In my opinion, this item doesn't actually belong on a consent calendar, just from the standpoint, this is something that we only do once a year, and that doesn't seem to me to be routine. And I did my best to research what a GAN limit was, got a little overwhelmed, and reached out to Angie, and she provided some clarity for me. But I just think it might be something that the public would be interested in, and Angie can't be here today, but Christine is online to explain what that is.
Good morning, board members, chairman. So just a quick, in 1979, the voters passed Proposition 4, which is also referred to as the GAN limit, which amended the state constitution. The GAN limit imposes appropriation limits on both sides of the local governments, state and local, and requires the calculation presented before you to be completed annually. So it's important to understand that not all revenue sources we receive count against our GAN limit. The GAN limit only constrains the appropriations for state and local tax sources. So federal aid and non-tax income are excluded. So as you can see in the calculation presented before you, the total amount of revenue budgeted for fiscal year 2021 is $110,811,763. The revenues subject to the limit, which are derived from tax sources such as property tax and sales tax, equated to $10,074,846, leaving $100,736,917 from non-tax sources. So in fiscal year 2021, after taking into account both the population adjustment and your cost of living adjustment, our total apportionment limit we could hit before having to refund the citizens is $26,597,932. So therefore we have $16,523,086 lower than the allowed. So the simplest explanation for the calculation is that we're ensuring that we are not overtaxing the citizens for county operations. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from the supervisors?
No questions, just thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hold on a second, Supervisor William. I'll be looking for a motion on this item if anyone is.
Mr. Chair, would you like to, did you ask for public and I missed it?
Oh, Supervisor Groves, thank you so much. Is there any public comment on this item, 2.1?
There are no hands raised, and no one has reached out to me on the chat function, so I will say no.
All right, thank you, Emma. I would entertain a motion.
Oh, I move to approve.
Okay.
I will second.
You have a first, you have a motion and a second. Please pull the board.
Motion by Supervisor Cox, second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item 2.9, Clerk of the Board, adopt a resolution which approves the Conflict of Interest Code for Hayfork Fire Protection District. No fiscal impact. And was this, Supervisor Cox, was this your item also?
I think this was consensus of everybody,
Oh.
including us. Yeah, what happened here is these, the board reports are in template form, and it appears that it's lit by that the department recommendation left Trinity Public Utilities District rather than a Hayfork, so that is a misprint. It should state at the bottom of the recommendation that it's Hayfork Fire Protective District, and we make a recommendation to approve their code of conduct, code of interest conduct forms. So I apologize for the confusion.
All right.
Would you like to pull this and just bring it back?
Is this time sensitive, Emma? If it is not time sensitive, that could be the best thing to do.
We can do that.
Okay, we'll just ask the board to pull this, and we'll bring it back at the next session with the correction. Thank you.
There was something there that also applied to Trinity.
Does the pulling of the item to be tabled need to have a motion? And second?
That is correct.
Okay. Having heard that,
Mr. Chair, maybe Margaret can jump in. Do we just want to continue this item, or do we want to totally pull it off?
I would recommend, since it's already been read, to continue it to the next meeting. Make sure you continue it to a date certain.
So I would move that we continue this item to the next meeting.
I know we've got a motion by Supervisor Groves and a second by Supervisor Cox. Please pull the board.
Supervisor Cox, how do you vote? Aye. Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
And our next item is 2.13, Sheriff. Approve amendment number 1 to the agreement with Trinity Tire Factory, Inc., changing the terms to an auto renewal and increasing the contract maximum to $60,000 per fiscal year to perform general tire repair and or replacement, vehicle repair services, emergency vehicle road service, and other vehicle maintenance to the Trinity County Sheriff Office's vehicles on an as-needed basis. $60,000 per fiscal year. Supervisor Gogan, you pulled this item.
Yeah, I'd like to know if we could take a break due to the sensitive nature of this item right here. Is it possible for us to take a 5-minute break?
You'd like a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, or 3 would be fine.
All right, are you interested in having Jill Lynn discuss this item and speak to it, or?
No, I just wanted to make a comment on a couple of things, and that would be it, but not in public.
Okay. You want to make a comment to who, though?
I would like to talk within the board and Richard about the situation at Trinity Tire.
Okay. Margaret, I believe you have to step in for this, if you may. I'm happy to do a 10-minute recess if Supervisor Gogan would like to reach out independently on his own or discuss privately with CAO Coons or yourself. Obviously, we can't take a recess and discuss the topic as a group. What would you advise moving forward?
No, you hit it right on. A break is appropriate if you would like to discuss this issue with staff. Of course, you can't discuss it with other board members, but I believe his intent was to discuss it with the CAO.
Okay, wonderful. So let's go ahead and take a 10-minute recess until 9:50 a.m. and we'll return to the meeting then. What's that?
Step right up front.
Yes.
Their parents' plans were young.
Do a special marker consider about a legal issue with the, if the board is okay with it, and have a problem, then we can move forward. It's not a legal
Right, yeah.
Wait for the.
Yeah. Yeah, normally that's what those phone calls are, unless there's some crisis going on.
And I didn't feel there was anything that needed
Okay.
All right.
Oh, wait, you're not unmuted.
Oh my gosh, I need that.
Try
I
again.
need it again. There we go. All right, this meeting is back in session. And we will resume with where we left off, item 2.13. Supervisor Gogan, you have the floor.
After speaking with staff, I feel confident that this is, should move forward without any implementation from our group, without implementation, and we should go ahead and approve item 2.13.
All right, we have a motion.
We still have to have public comment.
You are just doing public comment. Makes me look bad. Is there any public comment on this item?
I'm not seeing any raised hands or any chat. I'm talking really slow to give people a minute, but we're gonna go with no.
All right. Then, again, the motion would be entertained at this time.
I make the motion to approve.
Second.
Emma, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Please pull the board.
Motion by Supervisor Gogan, second by Supervisor Groves. Supervisor Groves, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox, Supervisor Frazier,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. We will go into reports and announcements. Item 3.1, report from department heads. Are there any department heads on the Zoom wishing to report out?
Yes, Kim. Yes.
All right. Director Hunter, it sounds like you're out there. Whenever you're ready, you have the floor.
I look very dark in the picture, I apologize for that.
We don't see you yet, but we can hear you. There you are.
Kim Hunter, Building and Planning Director. Unfortunately, our departments, building, planning, environmental health, have been impacted by COVID within the last week, and had to make the decision as a safety precautionary measure to close the office. This office closure includes staff members. There's a few essential workers in the office, but the majority of staff is at home. They are not present, and that closure is effective today through Tuesday, March 2nd. We'll see where we are at that time. This also means that the February 25th Planning Commission meeting will need to be canceled. I have been in contact with Planning Commission Chair Diana Stewart and have just notified the Planning Commission. So we'll be reaching out to all folks that were planning on attending the meeting, either as or being a part of that meeting, have items on the agenda. There's a lot to do to let people know, but I definitely wanted to let the board know and the public at this point the situation and why we are closed.
All right, thank you so much. Supervisors, do you have any questions for Director Hunter?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Supervisor Go.
Morning, Kim. Oops. Morning. I was just curious on the planning commission meeting, is there, certainly if a person is sick, that's not possible if they're not feeling well, but if the impact is just exposure and we have to quarantine, is it possible that planning commission meeting could go forward via Zoom?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Any additional questions for Director Hunter? Seeing none, Director Hunter, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other department heads on the Zoom wishing to report out? Anyone out there?
There are a handful of department heads on, but I'm not seeing them make any movement, so I'm going to go with they have nothing to report.
All right, wonderful. Our next item would be 2, report from County Administrative Officer, Dr. Jones.
Nothing to report at this time, thank you.
All right, I have one question for you regarding the economic strategy firm, and approximately when that will be coming back in front of us for what they've discovered and all of that.
Yeah, I've reached back out to him, waiting on his response, because I believe he met with some of the county people, not county staff, but members of the community, and waiting on that report, and then I will report back to the board as soon as we can reschedule that. I believe you're discussing the strategic plan?
Yes.
Yes,
right.
Yeah, and we'll get that rescheduled very shortly. Now with the capability of our Zoom room here, it actually should go very smoothly.
Okay. And do you recall what his initial timeline was for having all of his interviews incomplete and kind of their outline of recommendations? Was it about 6 months or something?
I don't think it was that long, but it was after he accumulated and did the interviews. I thought he'd get the report back to the board fairly quickly, and then it was about a 4-day, 2 hours at a shot pods where we would work with the board and develop the strategic, and it would take him, I think, about 30 days after that to bring that portion back. So
Okay.
we'll get it done in a couple of months.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other questions?
I do have a question.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Have, Dr. Coons, have we heard anything from setting up a meeting in Siskiyou about the land annexation?
No, I have reached out to him twice and haven't got anything back, so I will do that. I apologize, I have not followed up on that, but I will follow up on that today.
Anybody else? All right. Moving on, sub item 3, report from members of the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Frazier.
Nothing to report.
Supervisor Gogan.
Yeah, I was at the PSA 2 meeting with Jill Cox, who's the lead on that, so I'll let her speak on that, and also the EMS meeting with Jill, she's also the lead on that. Yesterday I met with Mario Angelone, who is the head of the Child Abuse Prevention Council and Family Violence Prevention Council. Meeting with him for about an hour yesterday. On the 22nd next week, a 3-hour in-detail meeting with their people about what exactly goes on there, so I can get it a little heads up before the first meeting that I will attend on the 24th, 2 days later. So I asked for these because I'm just not, it's a real layered subject and something that I feel strongly about. So I did not want to go into this meeting on the 24th without having kind of all my ducks in a row and knowing as much as possible about this situation, which is very sensitive. Also was at a TMC call-in meeting. Keith was out, I was the alternate. It was a very ho-hum meeting, not much was said, nothing to report out on. It was standard issue stuff. So we'll move forward. I think the next meeting we'll have a lot more to talk about, but there wasn't much there. Also, a couple days from now, I'll be going to the Trinity County Fair Association meeting in Hayfork, and that is about it.
All right. Thank you so much. Supervisor Cox.
Just regarding PSA 2, met with Terry Gabriel and am actively involved in assisting her to reestablish a presence in the Weaverville area. During the last board meeting, I had mentioned that I was interested in having Regional Forester Randy Moore just reestablish a presence with the board and some communication, and I was hoping that that could happen on a quarterly basis. Apparently, I missed the step of asking for board consensus to direct CEO Coons to make that happen, so was interested in asking you for that.
Tony? I don't know the legal avenue mechanism, but
Well, Jeremy, excuse me, I'm sorry. You can just say as chair, you can wield your mighty gavel, or you can ask for formal vote of the board to have that on.
well, unless there are any objections or concerns, I would happily honor that request. Seeing no objections, I'm good.
I'll reach out to him and get him scheduled as soon as he's available.
Awesome. Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, Supervisor Cox, Supervisor Groves.
Yeah, so I had my first board of directors meetings for CSAC by Zoom, which is unfortunate, but well, hopefully we'll get there by the end of the year. COVID was the talk of the day. The state wanting to have third parties, and most of the counties not wanting to have third party people involved. Most of the county's viewpoint is that we have the capability to give the doses at a much higher rate than the state has the capability to get us the vaccines. So they gave some rundowns on what was going on in Sacramento and the budget, but there's not really a lot going on besides COVID. Yesterday we had a LAFCO meeting, which we welcomed the two new supervisors to LAFCO, Ms. Cox and Mr. Frazier. I will point out, just for information on the LAFCO, is if you can't make the meeting, then it's kind of in the past we had your responsibility to contact our alternate lead to take your place, so he doesn't have to worry about it. And then that is all I've got for now.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Groves. As for myself, I've got no county travel, not much to report out on. I had a RCRC virtual retirement party for the president of RCRC, Greg Norton, after his 20-plus year career at RCRC. He's moved on. Maybe he's retired, we'll see. But it was really neat to kind of get a glimpse into that world and what they've been up to for the last 20 years under the direction of Mr. Norton, and we've yet to see who the new president of RCRC is going to be, but I believe they've made their selection, and they'll be coming down the pipeline who's going to be doing it. That is about it for me. And as long as everybody is willing to keep on going, we will move into county matters. All right? Okay. County matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request that an item be heard out of order. Are there any supervisors wishing to pull an item and put it into a different order? All right. Hearing none. Emma, is there any member of the public wishing that an item be heard out of order?
I am not seeing any movement on Zoom.
All right. Then we shall proceed. Clerk of the Board. Item 4.1. Approve the board's response to the grand jury report. Observation of the elections process 2020. No fiscal impact. Dr. Coons.
Thank you, Chairman Brown, members of the board. After reading the report, the response is essentially that we agree with the findings, and we'll do what we can to accommodate the room issues. At this point right now, we don't have any plans to expand the square footage of elections. As it states in the report, we're working a long-term plan to expand all offices and find more room. At this time, we don't have any plans for it, but we're not denying that space would be nice if it was available.
Can I answer that, Richard? It was also found that the election committee did nothing wrong at all. The only thing that the grand jury found was that we did not have enough space to oversee the counting of the ballots. I think both me and Richard were hesitant because of the fiscal situation of our county to go ahead and say we could make that a little bit larger. Besides that, grand jury came back with a full A grade for the elections officials. There was no problems at all. So I think we made the right move there. They did a great job, and we just don't have the money to expand for now. So we'll work with what we got.
All right, thank you for that, Supervisor Carson.
Thank you. I appreciate that the report back to the grand jury acknowledges their recommendation that our situation does require further analysis. It outlines that the space accommodations are not what we wish we had or what we hope that we have. It concludes with our ask that the public be understanding of our space limitations while we make strides to serve the public in the most efficient and transparent way. However, we don't really state what those strides would be. And so while it's true that our materials are now required by law to remain under lock and key, so there's no way we could move those downstairs as they used to be, as my understanding is in years gone by. The upstairs with that windowed room does offer some degree of visibility. The hallway obviously is very limited in its space. But the statute, to my understanding, says that observers are able to view the signature on the vote-by-mail ballots. There was some concern that it may have stated that people wanted to see the signatures that were approved as well, which I don't think is something that is required by law. But that they should be able to observe the process and be able to hear the process. And so I guess what I would ask is that we could have a discussion as to, what are the means by which we could take some creative measures. Could maybe the window be removed and replaced with some sort of metal folding, something that opens and then locks so that when open, conversation can be heard? Or could we maybe put a camera in a certain space that would retain the privacy of the parts of those ballots that should not be viewed, but allow observers to see signatures? Or could there be maybe a mic system that goes to some speakers that would be in a larger area than what the hallway permits? Something, we've been really creative during COVID because we had to be. And I just feel like maybe there's two extremes and we could make some strides to meet in the middle a little bit. It just seems to me like there could be a little more discussion other than just, we can't or we wish we could.
Can I answer that? I, first of all, due to the small faction of people that have a problem with this, and the grand jury coming back with, we did everything right, but have the public would like more space. We've given them enough space by law. I would be hesitant again because of fiscal allowances to do any of those things. I think they have the chance to oversee it. There's certain things in there that are very private. I don't want to have them see private information from any of us. And I think maybe the way we have them look, maybe at certain times, but I think that this faction that is wanting us to expand the viewing room, I think if we expand it, we add a mic, we do this and that, I think they're going to probably want more and more and more. And I think right now that they have plenty. So nothing against your comments, Jill. I just think that what's good is good, and let's stay with it.
All right, do we have any questions? Additional questions? Additional comments?
Yeah, so we received, and I'm only doing this because of COVID times, that we have a broader aspect of how we allow the public to talk to us. We have all received a letter from Ms. Graves from Lewiston area, and I bring this up because she's my constituent. Is there any issues in her letters that either one of you would like to address? She does make a claim that she wasn't allowed into the building. Does anybody want to address that issue?
From my understanding, she was not allowed in the building because she refused to wear a mask. It had nothing to do with the election. The marshals explained to her she was not allowed in the building if she wouldn't wear a mask. She said she wouldn't wear a mask, so they said she can't enter the building. So it was not an issue with elections, it was actually an issue of security in the marshal's office.
That's exactly what I took out of it, and I think there was one other gentleman that refused to wear a mask also, and they wouldn't let him either. I'm not sure what his name was, but it was Kay and I can't remember what his name is, Tom, I think. But they did not, they would not wear a mask in the building, and that at that time was not acceptable, so there should have been no reason that they should have been allowed in the building. So I find it hard to complain about something like that when you are not willing to do the things that you should do to get yourself up into the observation room. So for her to complain about that and her friend without wanting to put on a mask and then go ahead and complain about it, I think is just, it's odd. Put the mask on, go up there, see what's going on. Maybe you get a complaint in, you don't go. Talk to Keith.
I think if anything, where I'm landing is not so much on an issue of entering the building or, you know, an unwillingness to not comply with the masking mandate. It's more on being fully transparent and moving toward that space where when the public says, I don't feel as though I have what is due me as far as observation is concerned, if there's some step that we can take in that direction, and it's not asking for the world to just be a little creative and move toward a little more transparency, a little more allowing of the public to be involved. I think that when we give up little pieces of our rights as citizens, one day we're going to be left wishing we hadn't given up so much. And I just feel kind of strongly that, you know, we could come toward the center a little bit.
Mr. Chair, could I remind you we are in the technical aspect of our discussion here.
All right, sounds like...
And I just wanted to ask one more question, if there was any other issues that you would like to address in Ms. Graves' letter.
I would like to defer, because she's stating legal issues. I would see if maybe county council could chime in a little bit, because many of the things that she put in there they're beyond just the grand jury's report about STACE. So she gets into a little more, and that's a little outside my wheelhouse, so I prefer county council handle that.
I would love that.
Margaret, are you able to comment on this?
I am. I'm happy to respond. Frankly, I want to keep it within the agenda item, which is related to the observation. So I think it's appropriate now not to address those. I will say that we did have the space reviewed as it was being developed, and some substantial amount of money was put into redesigning that to allow the window access. And from the perspective of the Attorney General's office, from the perspective of the grand jury, it meets all legal requirements for observation and viewing. Related to the other issues, again, they're not within the scope of this agenda item, so I don't really want to go into detail. But the election and observation of election have been reviewed a number of times by a number of different agencies, as well as the court, and the way it is set up is legally appropriate.
All right, thank you so much for clarifying that. Having heard that, I will open it up for public comment. Emma, do we have any public comment on this item?
I'm not seeing if there's anybody out there with public comment, please raise your hand using the chat function or using the Zoom function. or reach out to me through the chat.
All right.
I do see that someone used the chat to make a comment. Please unmute yourself and then I will time your comment.
Is there a Zoom user wishing to make public comment?
Yes, just a devil's advocate comment here. I
Can you
completely
please
agree.
state your name and location for the board, please?
Sorry. Robbie Camacho, Waverville, California.
Thank you.
I just wanted to state that this is a devil's advocate comment here. I completely agree with them not allowing anyone into the courthouse without following the public health mandates. But it's a bit hypocritical when 9 times out of 10, the marshals staff themselves are not masked up. So just wanted to make that comment that they need to be following the rules themselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments on this item out there?
Is there anyone else with public comment? I'm not seeing anyone with a raised hand and no one else has reached out to me with Zoom
All right.
through the chat. So if no one else reaches out here shortly, we're going to move on.
All right. Is there any more discussion from the supervisors on our response to the report? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I would move to accept the report as presented.
I'll second that.
I have a,
You just have now comment period. So let's make your comment.
Discussion.
Or you want to make another motion?
yeah, I want to make
You want to
subsequent.
Subsequent.
Yes.
There you go.
I would move that we revisit the specific manner in which we're going to conclude our comments to the grand jury, including specific ways by which we might be a little more accessible to the public.
You lost me in that motion.
I believe Supervisor Cox was requesting that we would add additional details stating on our future efforts in increasing that space. Is that correct?
Specific
Does that include accepting this though? Because we do need approval of this, so is in the motion also accepting the response?
You'd have to be very specific in what you want to change on the wording right now. You wouldn't be able to be, in my opinion at least, Margaret can correct me if I'm wrong obviously, but you'd have to be very specific in your wording request, and that may become difficult.
I see.
That's correct. We're looking to approve this letter or make modifications to it. That's what I would like to see a motion on.
And so because I'm not prepared with specific wording on a modification,
Supervisor, if you have some general concepts, I'm happy to assist in crafting the wording for it. So if you want to just provide your concepts, and then if we get a second, we can look at actually in words.
You could also ask to continue this item for a later time to work with Liam and staff.
As for the discussion, I would just like to say that our next election, I believe, is 2 years out. Is that right? So it does give us ample time to plan for anything that we would want to see changed at that time, and there's plenty of time for that request to come in front of the board on an agenda item down into the future.
I see. I would be comfortable moving forward with the responses we have because I think this is a time-sensitive issue. I'm not exactly sure what the timeline is. The part I'm not comfortable with is just leaving it as is and then trusting that it's all going to be okay, and then in the next election we are still having kind of the same situation.
Chair, if I can make a recommendation, it appears as if this letter is appropriate to move forward. And then Supervisor Cox, if you would like to give direction to staff, you can do that as a separate item. That doesn't need to be agendized, so that we keep the two items separate. Approving of this letter, and then if you have additional direction to staff regarding looking at issues, you can do that as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Having said that, do you want your subsequent motion still on the table, or would you like to pull it?
I will pull the subsequent motion.
Then we are back to our,
I would have a comment when you.
oh, please go ahead.
I want to thank the grand jury and their hard work in this, and I'm very proud of our elections department for getting a high rating. This has been a long battle for everybody involved, and it hasn't been so fun. And even though I would like us to be perfect, this is a pretty good, especially in this day and age of questioning elections, this is a pretty good report giving confidence to the people of Trinity County that we run quality elections.
And could I also just say that in my comments and my passion to be as transparent as we can be, I am in no way implicating that I think the elections were run unfairly or in not. I think they were very well done, and I have every confidence that they are right and good, and this has nothing to do with that.
All right, so I believe Supervisor Groves, you had put a motion, and we had received a second on that. Am I
Yes, you're correct.
recollecting correctly? Then Emma, may you please poll the board?
I would love to. We have a motion by Supervisor Groves and a second by Supervisor Gogan. Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4.2, pursuant to Trinity County fee waiver policy, find that the Trinity Trail Alliance's Loden Bike Park project provides a benefit to the public and is not for the purpose of fundraising, and approve the Alliance's application for waiver of county fees, waiving the building department fees of $362.55 for the Trinity Trail Alliance. Potential loss of revenue in the amount of $363 to the building department. And we've got Dr. Coombs.
Well, actually, you pretty much wrapped it up. What we're doing is we're asking for a fee waiver for the Trinity Trail Alliance. So we've done this year after year, and it's a great organization that provides a great service to the community. So it's something that the staff recommends.
All right, thank you so much for that explanation. Do we have any technical questions from the board? Seeing none. Emma, do we have any public comment on this item?
I have no hands raised and no one has reached out through the chat.
All right. With that being said, we would, or I would at least, entertain a motion.
I would move to allow them the free waiver.
All right, we've got a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Emma, we've got a motion from Supervisor Cox and a second from Supervisor Frazier. Please poll the board.
Supervisor Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4.3, discuss and consider authorizing County Administrative Officer Richard Coons to sign the cooperating agency return form regarding the Bureau of Land Management Northwest California Integrated Resource Management Plan. No fiscal impact. Dr. Coons, the floor is yours.
It's a plan put out by the Bureau of Land Management that we concur with year after year, and needs the board's authorization for me to sign it.
All right, do you have any technical questions from the board on this item?
I do.
All right.
As the signer, I'm curious who will provide you the technical support that you need. Would that, my understanding is the planning department no longer has a natural resources division as it once did, and their capacity is probably not going to encompass that at this time. So would it be the Fire Safe Council, the Watershed Center, maybe the Community Forest Steering Committee? Who will, are you actually going to go to the table, or how does this play out?
that's a good question. It's just something that comes across every year, that we accept their report. I think Susie's on the line. Ask her to step in. I don't believe that we are a crafter of the report. Susie, are you on the line so you can kind of help me out on this one?
I am. Sorry, I'm pulling the item up right now. I don't know that I've been intimately involved in this thing in the past, but it's more of a have us be at the table with them in reviewing and providing some input and just being able to be a part of the process, as opposed to providing significant information. So it's allowing us to be a part of the process before their report is done, more so than just receiving their report after the fact. Or the other option was to tell them that we're not interested, just do what you're gonna do. Which I don't think is the county's, which in my experience has not been the board's desire in the past.
I believe it appears that they leave us with 4 options at the end of the letter. Well, we can have special expertise and become a cooperator, or we can accept their information as sufficient and not become a cooperator, but request drafts of their plan. We can say, thank you for reaching out to us, we have no interest, and we can also provide data, but nothing else. So, do any other supervisors have technical questions on this? Please, Supervisor Burrows.
I would love to hear the response to Mrs. Cox's question.
From Dr. Coons or
Well,
whoever?
And feel free to finish off. I don't want to be mansplaining your question here.
Oh, well, it just looks to me as though that this is a process, that this is a resource management plan that's being developed over the course of meetings and conversations with input. And it's important to me that Trinity County gets represented, that we have a say in how this goes forward. And I think it's awesome that we have this opportunity. I think we should definitely accept. I just am wondering, how exactly does that play out? Is that something that, are we going to, some way there has to be to figure that out.
So I will, without passing the buck, say I take direction from the board. If the board would like a larger footprint in this, I'd be more than happy to participate. Or if the board would like to have a board member attend or reach out to another community. In the past, we've accepted reports and not got in, stayed in our wheelhouse and not got too deep into the process of the report. But if that's a different direction the board would like to go, I'd be more than happy to become more intimately involved or step aside and a board member could be on the part of this plan. It is multi-county. You see they have Delmar, Humboldt, Mendocino, Siskiyou, Trinity, Tehama, and Butte counties are all involved.
Yes.
I don't know the extent that they participate.
Are those our only options, a board member or yourself?
You
or
can
is
put it to a committee such as the collaborative, in my opinion, would probably be the most logical to look at this. But having said that, it looks like they already came up with an initial draft of preparation and alternatives in 2016. And so I believe, maybe a more appropriate avenue would be requesting from Jennifer Mata, who's the Reading office manager, to do a presentation on kind of what this report entails. I'm happy to reach out to her, or Dr. Coons could reach out to her and discuss if she could join us for a Zoom presentation or something to kind of explain what are still the moving parts of this plan, and if we have the ability to guide it. And they kind of, in one of the paragraphs here, they say, also please share relevant policies, strategies, or other guidance that would assist the BLM in the planning process, data and other information. So it's a pretty wide open door in my interpretation of the letter. And like I said, I'd be happy to reach out as chair and ask that Jennifer Mata come and explain this all and not throw too much on Richard's shoulders for this. That would be my request if the board is willing to support me in that.
I think the presentation would be wonderful. I also don't, however, think that the collaborative is our only option as to having community members at the table, so that might be up for discussion with, did you see of our other options who might be willing to fill that role?
Okay, do you have any suggestions?
I do. I think that it would be appropriate to look to the RCD and see if Kelly or somebody else there might like to fill that role. We've got some young, fresh, educated blood in that entity, and
Cool.
that might be a great opportunity for them.
All right. Well, I'm happy to pass this along and reach out to Kelly, and then maybe we can see if Jennifer is willing to come talk to it, and then at the next board meeting, follow by. All right.
Hey, Chair, may I jump in quickly?
Yeah, of course.
And this is less of a county council, but more my recollection from when I was helping out in Rick's spot. My understanding is that they are looking for somebody from the county through this letter. So while I think it's a great idea to suggest or recommend other individuals that could be of assistance, I do think that the county wants to have their foot in the door or their seat at the table would be appropriate to move forward on this. Typically, again, whoever's sitting at the table is just the representative of the county gathering information. Ultimately, the question to Supervisor Cox is that the board is the one that will make the decision. So it's just getting somebody at the table to bring that information back to the board to provide updates to them. They'll also, of course, have to work with planning staff and other folks to get recommendations. Ms. Mata has come before the board in the past, and she is a great, she's very articulate and a wonderful collaborator with the county, so I think that would be a good idea. But if she's got too much on her plate and it would be too busy, it would be appropriate to send somebody to the table and have them again report back to the board on the status. So my recommendation would be to move forward on it by putting somebody from the county, Richard being the appropriate individual on this, and then we can again look at additional involvement in other mechanisms.
All right, well, having heard that, then I believe we should pick one of the 4 boxes at the end of the letter. And Richard, it sounds like you are predestined for this position. So I would assume that and ask if everyone is okay with the first box stating our agency has decision-making authority and special expertise and would like to become a cooperator with BLM. Is there consensus on that?
My viewpoint is yes. I don't know if we're ready to do that yet, and we might be in a position this year where we just check the box that we want to be there, but we can't be there. But I think our long-term goal, or our short long-term goal, should be that we need to have more say and more input in with the BLM. And there has been work done in the past, and so that BLM should know about. For example, we have a resolution in this county that land should not be turned federal without federal lands equal size being turned into private lands. There's been a lot of work done in the past on fire issues and things like that. So coming up with a solution to become more involved and not have our planning department be involved in it would be more than welcome. And I don't say that to bash the planning department, but we have no resources, no natural resource department.
All right, Dr. Coons, what would you like to do with this?
I'll be more than happy on the board's direction to become more intimately involved in this. It is time sensitive. They've asked that we return this by the 26th this month. So if we want to check box number 1 and bring it back for further discussion as far as the involvement we want the county, I'll be more than happy to lead that.
And I wouldn't be against some sort of supervisor or some sort of an ad hoc or a supervisor being part of this process. And since we are short-staffed, so that's something I think we can think about in the future.
All right, any other technical questions? Seeing none, I'll open up for public comment. Public comment, Darrell, speaking?
There's the history guy.
Darrell Forzo, Beaverville. That 2016 process, the BLM was working on modifying the management plan back then, and the last thing I checked, they had put it on table because of all the fires and that sort of thing. One of the things that kind of pops up, besides the typical natural resource issues of fire and forest management, that sort of thing, is over the years, in real property that intersects with the BLM, when resurveys are done and that sort of thing, we've found problems where people have inadvertently, innocently or whatever, had improvements on BLM lands, and a lot of the management requirements that the BLM had did not allow the BLM to deal with those kinds of issues, so that if somebody had a trespass, even though the BLM might have been willing to deal with that, to sell a piece of land or trade some land or whatever it was, because of the management plan, they weren't actually allowed to even do that. So to me, one of the things that ought to be in that management plan, and we've talked about this when they were doing their public hearings back in 2016, is providing them with tools so that they could in fact deal with those kinds of issues relative to real property. So just hopefully that might get into the process a little bit. And I did testify to that point back when they were doing their initial whatever the right term is, vetting of their plans and whatnot, but I have not seen any documents since then to tell us where they're at. So I just wanted to put that out to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Emma, any other public comment on Zoom?
I have no hands raised and no one has reached out to me through chat.
All right, any additional discussion from the board?
And I think Darrell just volunteered to be an asset in this process.
Dr. Coons, are you clear on the direction for this item? Do you want clarity before we?
Well, if we're checking box number 1, then yes, I'm clear. We will. I will be designated to, and then the board will also assign a secondary, whether it be a committee member or a board member. Is my understanding.
All right, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second. Emma, we've got a motion from Supervisor Groves and a second from Supervisor Gogan. Please pull the board.
Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Human Resources 4.4. Pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 2.60.410A, authorize hiring candidate number 00594, employee ID number 01995, as an extra health transit driver at range G159, Step E in the Department of Transportation, effective February 17th, 2021. The hourly rate for actual hours worked for a transit driver at A step is $15.04082, and at E step is $18.28221 plus applicable payroll taxes and unemployment insurance. So,
those are always a mouthful, aren't they?
Woo, with the mask and everything, go for it.
Okay, so thank you. This is Shelley Nelson, HR Director. The Department of Transportation is requesting to hire a candidate at E-Step based on their years of experience and their qualifications. They have been a driver with Trinity Transit for 6 years before they retired in 2018. They have excellent driving record, great rapport with our current, with the Trinity Transit customers in the past, and also possesses, which is hard to come by sometimes, the Class A license and all the endorsements required to operate the transit vehicles. This department has had an open recruitment since the beginning of January. We have not yet received any qualified applicants. It is an ongoing recruitment until filled. and hiring this applicant as a temporary extra help part-time driver, approximately 3 days per week, would benefit the county, and Trinity Transit, as they're currently short on drivers. And if they are to resume to full service anytime in the future, they would not be able to meet that obligation. So we're asking to approve this hire above A-step and E-step.
All right, do you have any technical questions from the board? Seeing none, open up to public comment. Emma, any public comment on this item?
I have no hands raised,
All right,
and no one has reached out to me through the chat.
okay. I would entertain a motion.
I'd move to accept 4.4 as presented.
I'll second.
Emma, we've got a motion from Supervisor Groves and a second from Supervisor Frazier. Please pull the board.
Supervisor Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4.5. Authorize the Human Resources Director to recognize and transfer 21 years applicable longevity from Trinity County Public Health Programs and supervision experience for the Public Health Program Manager promotion and pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 2.60.410, parentheses D-E, authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to promote employee number 00869 to a program manager at range M2357F effective February 1st, 2021. Approximate cost and salary and benefits per month for a program manager at E-Step is $10,641 and at F-Step is $11,118. Shelley, the floor is yours again.
Thank you. Health and Human Services Director has promoted a current employee to a program manager in the Public Health Division effective February 1st. And pursuant to the code, this employee's placement would fall into step F, where when you're promoting, what the code states is you must be at a minimum of 5%. Placing them at F step is what's defined as a longevity step. And pursuant to County Code 2.60400 Section B3, longevity steps require an individual to hold that position for 2.5 years and been employed with the county for a minimum of 7. This specific employee that was promoted has been employed by the county within this department for 21 years, of which 9 years have been served as a coordinator of public health programs and 3 years as a supervisor over public health programs. So they are incredibly qualified. The employee's been employed by the department is requesting the board to provide authority to myself as the HR director to recognize and transfer their 21 years applicable longevity in the public health programs and supervision experience, and pursuant to the code, authorize the director to be able to promote above E-step at F-step to meet that requirement. The salary range and step would commensurate with the employee's training and experience, which exceeds the position's minimum qualification.
All right, any technical questions from the board? Seeing none. Emma, is there any public comment on this item?
I have no hands raised, and there is no one reaching out to me on the chat.
Okay. Unless there's any further discussion on this item, I would entertain a motion.
All right, so, go ahead.
So moved for 4.5.
I second.
All right, Emma, we have a motion from Supervisor Groves and a second from Supervisor Gogan. Please pull the board.
Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier,
Aye.
Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Next, probation. Item 4.6, approve a budget adjustment. I apologize. Approve a budget adjustment for probation. Department 2400, increasing fixed assets by $33,570 and approve a budget adjustment for contingency. Department 9901, decreasing provisions for contingency by $33,570. increase in budget appropriation in the amount of $33,570. Current contingency balance is $443,859. And do we have someone online to speak to this item?
Yes, it's Tim Rogers. Good morning, Chairman Brown, members of the board. So this is the first time that I've ever had to approach the board to ask for contingency funds. I did do a deep dive into our budget to see if there was any way to be able to cover this unexpected cost, and unfortunately there was not. I do, however, on the positive side, I'm pretty fiscally conservative throughout the year, and I do feel that I should have some cash carryover this fiscal year that may at least help offset some of this cost.
All right, do you have any technical questions from the board? And this is the boiler you spoke to at the last meeting, I believe, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Making sure there's not two boilers. You know.
Oh, no, it's just the one, fortunately. It's supposed to be in next week, I believe, so we're still limping along right now.
All right, thank you, Tim. Is there any public comment on this item?
I have no hands raised, and no one has approached me through the chat.
All right, hearing that, I bring it back to the board for further discussion. Or if there's none, I would entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to pass 4.6 as stated.
I'll second.
All right, Emma, we have a motion from Supervisor Gogan and a second from Supervisor Frazier. Please pull the board.
Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox? Aye. Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
Chair,
Thank you.
Yes.
since the vote's in now, I'll speak to, I don't want to mess anything up for probation. But yes, normally, under these circumstances, we'd ask the departments to look into their budget and see where they could find cost savings before we go straight to contingency. But Tim has always been extremely fiscally conscious, and it actually, when he said that he's going to look into his current budget and see what he can find, makes me a little bit nervous, because Tim is always a team player, and we don't want him cutting any services that are mandated. So we in this situation, strongly support looking at contingency for the cost of the boiler.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. With that, we will be moving into closed session.
Chair,
Yes.
may I recommend that we do the addendum item first?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
No, thank you.
We have a meeting addendum item. Health and Human Services. Approve amendment number 2 to the agreement with the California Department of Public Health Immunization Branch IZB to increase funding in the amount of $39,696 for fiscal year 2021 to provide a grant assisting public health in preventing and controlling vaccine-preventable diseases in the local health jurisdictions, subject to routing for form and content. No impact to the general fund, increase in revenue to HHS. Someone on the Zoom here to speak to that. Since it was an addendum, I might not have panned out as well as it could have. That was my fault. Richard, do you know who's the main contact for this? Is it Liz?
Yeah, good morning, Chair. Liz Hamilton, Health and Human Services Director. I don't have substantial content to add to the item that you just read. I know that we are working with the state to just add to our capacity, our funding capacity, to ensure vaccine and the distribution of vaccine into our community.
All right, are there any technical questions from the board? Hearing none, is there any public comment on this item?
I have no hands raised, and there is no movement on the chat.
All right. Then I would entertain a motion.
So move to accept the addendum A as presented.
I will second that.
We've got a motion from Supervisor Groves and a second from Supervisor Gogan. Please pull the board.
Supervisor Gogan, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox? Supervisor Frazier?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we are going into closed session. I am going to request that we reorganize the order of items and start with the last first, which would be 5.3, and then go to 5.2, and then finish with 5.1. I'd be looking for support from that. Or do I just get to do it?
You're just thinking, you get to do
Well,
it, man.
I hope I have your support because we're doing it. And Margaret, maybe you need to step in here because regarding 5.1, there are 5 cases of which I will be recusing from, some that are of cannabis interest. Do I need to go over each one of those now and state that?
Yes, you do.
And can you clarify the Carlson and Trinity County is cannabis, as well as the Trinity Institute for Permaculture Farming and Restorative Forestry?
Both are cannabis-based, yes.
Okay. As chair, I will be recusing myself from the American Cannabis Partners versus Trinity County case. I will be recusing myself from the Carlson versus Trinity County case. And I will be recusing myself from the Trinity Institute for Permaculture Farming and Restorative Forestry case on the premise that I hold a state and county cannabis license for cultivation. So, having said that, we will move into 5.3, Government Code Section 54954.5F, Conference with labor negotiators, employee organizations, Deputy Sheriff's Association, Probation Peace Officers Unit, Management and Confidential Unit, Skilled Trades Unit, and General Unit, County negotiators to be discussed. No fiscal impact. And then lastly, Margaret, do I need to go through the other items too entirely?
Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you. After that, we'll go into item 5.2, Government Code Section 54954.5B, Conference with Real Property Negotiators regarding APN number 014-180-28, Agency Negotiator Richard Coons and Rick Tippett. And then we will go into 5.1, Government Code Section 54954.5C, Conference with Legal Counsel Existing Litigation, number of cases 5, American Cannabis Partners versus Trinity County et al., Trinity County Superior Court case number 20CV157, Carlson et al. Versus Trinity County et al., Trinity County Superior Court case number 20CV136, Trinity Action Association Inc. versus Trinity County of Trinity et al., Trinity County Superior Court case 19CV001, Trinity County for Small Business versus County of Trinity et al., Trinity County Superior Court case number 20CV106, and lastly, Trinity Institute for Permaculture Farming and Restorative Forestry LLC versus County of Trinity et al. No case number with that one. Margaret, does there need to be a case number attached to that last one?
And no, when it was served on us, there was no case number attached to it. So in the future, we will track down the case number, but at this point, it wasn't available.
All right. With that, we will move into closed session. Thank you for your participation in today's meeting.
Excuse me, Chair, public comment on these items?
Oh.
Sorry.
Thank you, Emma. Kitty here.
Yeah, she's
Where are you at?
in there. We're watching each other now.
Do you have any public comment on any of these closed session items?
I do not have any hands raised.
All right.
Someone did chat to me. Are you wanting to make a public comment, or are you just thanking us for watching out? I'm not seeing anyone unmuting, so I'm going to assume that there is no public comment. Thank you. No public comment. We're good to go.
All right. Thanks so much. 5-minute recess.